In this video, we will show you how to replace your outside rear door handle on this Ford F-150. You'll have one of these mounted to each of your rear doors. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. To be able to gain access to this, we're going to have to remove the inside door panel. To remove the inside door panel, we're going to make our way just underneath the inside grab handle. You're going to find a plastic trim panel here. It's kind of like a small trap door. We'll go ahead and pop this free using a small pocket screwdriver or small prying device. Now we'll be using this tool directly inside of the groove right along here. There's actually a couple locking tabs that make their way along the top. So as we make our way in along the side, we're just going to try to make our way up along the top as well. After that, you should be able to start pulling this out and away. You can use a plastic trim tool if necessary. Now we can see those two locking tabs. We have the lower ears down along the bottom. And in behind that area is where our next mounting bolts are. For each of these two mounting bolts, we'll be using a 7mm. Inspect your mounting hardware as you continue, replace as necessary. Let's get the next one. Let's move just above that area to the inside grab handle. We're going to remove the outer trim plastic panel here. Now for this, you want to start with what would be the forward side of this. We'll gently start prying it out. It does have several locking tabs, but over here there's an ear that makes its way in and behind the panel. So you need to start from this end. Now for this, you can use a plastic trim tool. I'm going to start with a small pocket screwdriver. We'll gently make our way in between this area, being careful not to cause any damage, and gently start prying it away. At that point, you can continue on with that plastic trim tool so we don't cause any damage here. We just want to carefully start pulling it out. Okay. There we are. Let's have a look along the back side there. You can see our locking tabs. And there's that small ear that I told you about that goes behind this area. With the panel out of the way, we have access to our next two mounting bolts. You can see both of them right here. We'll be using a 7mm. Now let's continue on towards our window switch. We're still using that small pocket screwdriver. To dislodge the window switch, you want to carefully pry along each side of that window switch. Right along here and right along there. There's two locking tabs. Now once you have that lifted up, we'll be paying attention to that wiring harness. As far as the wiring harness is concerned, you want to go ahead and press in on this locking tab, and then you can disconnect it. A quick inspection on both ends for corrosion. We'll set that window switch aside. Now let's make our way all the way down to the bottom of the door panel here. You're going to find two more 7mm headed mounting bolts to remove. As you can tell, these are considerably shorter than the others. Now we'll start separating the door panel from the door using a plastic trim tool. You don't want to try using a screwdriver, you could cause damage to your paint. We'll just carefully make our way in between and gently start prying this away. As you make your way up to the top, you want to pay attention to your door lock knob. We'll carefully start lifting the door panel up and away from that. Pay attention to that window channel just in case it catches. Let's have a look along the back side. Now when I pulled my door panel away, this cable actually came loose on its own, but sometimes it doesn't. If that's the case, just go ahead and use a small pocket screwdriver. You want to try to find an area in between the cable and the inside door handle and gently just start prying it away. Typically it will slide out of the groove along this area here, then you should be able to pull it down and out. A quick inspection of that cable, and we'll set our panel aside. Now that we have the door panel out of the way, we're going to remove the vapor barrier from the area. When doing so, you want to be careful for this black line. On the opposite side is butyl tape. It's extremely sticky and cause damage to your clothing. Go ahead and start removing that from the door itself. We'll set this aside. Now with that out of the way, we're going to carefully reach up inside of this port. What we're looking for is two mounting nuts that are holding that outside door handle to the door. You can easily see those straight through this little peephole. We'll be using a 10mm for each of these two mounting nuts. Now let's get that next one just above it.
there as well. Now we're going to make our way to where the door jamb would be. We're looking for this plastic plug. Go ahead and remove the plug. That's going to expose a 10mm mounting bolt behind here. Pop that out of place. A quick inspection, you will be reusing this to protect this area. Got our 10mm for that mounting bolt. Just take hold of that with a small magnet if necessary. Take hold of your outside door handle, and we're going to carefully start pulling it away from the door. When doing so, we want to start with this area along here. We'll start pulling it out at an angle and pull it a little forward. There is a small area on the door handle itself that makes its way on the inside of the door. Okay. There's that small hooked area I mentioned that goes behind the door, and that's where that mounting bolt went. Let's have a look along the back side. Now, if you were to look right along here, you can see where the door handle cable makes its way into the handle, and we have a white locking tab. To remove this tab, you should be able to just take hold of it and pull it straight out and away. There's that. Just a quick inspection, make sure that this is reusable. Now that we've removed the white locking tab, we're going to pay attention to the cable itself, right where it goes through the outside door handle. If you were to pay close attention, you should find that you have two locking ears. We'll have to pivot the handle one direction or the other so we can gain access to both of those ears, squeeze them in towards the cable itself, unlocking it, and then we'll slide the cable out and away. Once we have it pulled out and away far enough, we're going to bring it up through the slot right here in the outside door handle. Now let's follow it up to this area. Should be able to take hold of that. Just give it a little wiggle out of its locked position and remove it. A quick inspection of your door handle cable, confirming it's still in good reusable condition. We'll temporarily set that aside, and there's your outside door handle. With the outside door handle out of place, let's go ahead and clean up the mounting surface. I'm using a clean cloth and some glass cleaner. We don't want to cause any damage to any paint, but we do want to try to remove any miscellaneous debris from the area. A thorough inspection before installation. Now let's just make sure each one of our mounting ears is stable. Okay friend, let's prepare to install our brand new outside door handle. We'll start with installing the cable along the back side here. As for this cable, we'll slide it right into the groove. Pivot it, it should slide in like this. Now we're going to bring it right through the groove in the bracket area here. And then we'll lock it in by pressing it all the way towards that area. Listen for a click from both of those two ears. Now let's follow the cable to the next mounting point. That's going to fit right in this area. We'll press it down. Should be able to pivot it down. Now that we have that in there, let's continue on with our white locking clip here. That's just going to slide right over this area. Should press right in. Listen for a click, double check, make sure that's secure. Now continuing on from there, it's time to start installing the door handle into the door itself. A couple areas that we want to pay attention to. We have this hooked ear right here, which will have to go in first. Once we've rolled that in, we're going to pay attention to the two studs and line those up with their corresponding areas as well. With that pressed into position, we can continue on with our mounting hardware. For the mounting hardware, we'll start out inside the door jamb area with our 10mm mounting bolt. We're only going to start it in, we are not going to tighten it yet. Once you have that started on, we're going to make our way inside the door for our two 10mm mounting nuts. Now that we have all of the hardware started in, we can continue on to tightening these. While we're inside the door, let's just go ahead and tighten these two mounting nuts first. Okay, right there is bottomed out. We'll just take it a tiny bit further to confirm it's properly secure. Continue on to the next one, repeating the process. We're just going to snug these up. There's bottomed out. Just a tiny bit further. Let's make our way to the mounting bolt. Install your protective plug. Before we put anything else back together, let's test the functionality of our outside door handle. With it in the unlocked position, we're going to be using a small rod inside the door latch area, pretending it's the striker which is attached to the vehicle. If you were to shut the door, the striker is going to push this in. Now it's latched in. I'm going to go ahead and pull on the outside door handle and make sure this releases. As you can see, the latch did release as it should. I'm just going to test that one more time. Press that in as far as I can. I'm applying outward pressure, trying to push this away. And it releases as I pull the handle. Now let's install our vapor barrier in the area. We want to make sure we protect this port. We're just going to try to align this with the original spot that we had removed it from and press it right into the proper positioning here. Make your way all the way around. Let's prepare to install our door panel. When doing so, there's a couple things that we'll pay attention to. You're going to have a locating tab. It's a fairly large piece of plastic protruding from the door panel itself leading into the door. Once you have that aligned, the rest of your push clips making their way around the door panel should align as well, so we're going to be pressing those in. There's a couple things that we'll pay attention to other than that. You also have the area in the center where your inner door handle is. This is where the cable will sit. And then as we're getting this into position, we'll also have to pay attention to the door lock knob. Let's start bringing this into position. We'll start with that cable on the inside door handle. That's going to need to slide underneath this ear right here, and it's going to fit directly into this port. We're going to press it in, listen for a click, make sure it's properly locked in. Press this in. There we are. Now let's get our window switch cable close to the port that it needs to be in. Now up along the top corner, we want to pay attention to that door lock knob. We'll push that into the port where it has to slide through the door panel. We can see that making its way down and through. We're going to pivot the door panel out on the bottom, but down along the top. Now we'll start swinging this down, confirming we're properly aligned, and start pressing it in. Now let's just double check, make sure it's seated all the way around. Now that we finished tapping that in and confirming it's properly seated, it's time to start installing the mounting hardware, holding it in place. We'll start just underneath the grab handle. We had those two 7mm mounting bolts that went in this area here. Go ahead and start them in and snug them up. They're both started. Let's snug them up now. Go ahead and protect that area with its cover. We have the two locking tabs up along the top, and down along the bottom you have the locating tabs. We'll go ahead and line this up, press it in. Roll it in from the bottom first, and then locking it in along the top. Listen for a click, double check, make sure that's secured. Let's move up to the grab handle now. We've got two 7mm mounting bolts. You can go ahead and start those in and snug those up as well. Reinstall your protective cover in this area. When installing the protective cover, as you remember along the back side, you do have that one locating ear which will go behind this area of the door panel. Aside from that, you just have several locking tabs. Once you have everything slid behind and aligned, go ahead and drive it in. A couple light taps just to confirm everything's properly secured in place. After installing all that, we're going to make our way down along the bottom of the door panel. You have those two mounting bolts. I have them started in. We'll just go ahead and snug them up. Now it's time for the window switch. We have our wiring harness. Go ahead and line that up, press it in. Listen for a click from that, a light tug to make sure it's secured so it doesn't fall off while you're driving down the road. We'll go ahead and start pressing this down into position. Make sure you have it in the proper orientation, of course. Press it down. Listen for a click from both ends. Should not pull up and out of place. Now that we have the door panel installed, the next thing we'll do is test the functionality of the inside door handle. We did have to disconnect that cable from the backside. To test the functionality, I'm going to use a 1/4-inch driver here. You can also just use a 1/4-inch drive extension, and we're going to go right inside this door latch area, pretending this is a striker and the door is shut. I'm just going to go ahead and press this right in. Now continuing on from there, I'm going to try pulling this inward. Essentially like we're trying to open the door without actually pulling on the handle yet. Now while I'm holding pressure, I'll take hold of the inside door handle, pull on that, and this should release. As you can tell, it did release as it should. I'm just going to try that one more time. I'm putting pressure. We'll pull the handle. Perfect. Okay, friend, we finished our installation and we've tested the functionality. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.